C60 Show, where we show you how to optimize your health with Carbon 60.
Hi, and I'm Ken, a research scientist and founder of C60 Purple Power. And I'm here to explain to you the science of C60 and how it works at the cellular level to give you back control over your health.
And I'm Sierra. I'm a mom, and I've been on the health and wellness journey for over 2 decades now. And today we're going to talk about digestion. March is National Nutrition Month. But when it comes to nutrition, it's not just about what you eat, it's about what your body does with what you eat.
That's right. You can be eating the best food in the world, but if you don't have a working digestive system, you're just wasting nutrients.
That's right, Ken. Today we're going to go over 10 tips to improve your digestion, and we're going to show you some exciting ways C60 can help support digestion and nutrient absorption.
Yeah, so we're live today, so please put your questions in the comments. Anything about digestion or other questions about C60.
Yeah, please let us know if you have any questions. And also, we don't want to know if you're having trouble with digestion. I know that is so TMI, right? People talking about digestion, it's a little bit. So don't worry if you're eating lunch. We're not going to show any gross pictures, but this is going to be a really interesting presentation. Anyway, I'm just going to share my screen now. And before we get started, we need to let you know that the following statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease, and individual results may vary.
Yes, and all opinions expressed on our show today are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for professional medical advice. Please seek advice from your doctor or other qualified health practitioner.
All right, we're going to start with asking ourselves the question, do you have a healthy digestion? Well, people don't think twice about being bloated or having gas or, but yeah, you know what? The thing is, good digestion should actually be silent. It should be painless and generally not stinky.
Yeah, and if your digestive system is working right, you shouldn't even notice that you're digesting things. Everything should just be happening, and there won't be any side effects, unpleasant side effects.
You won't notice it, and you won't smell it.
That's right.
So really digestive health results in the absorption of nutrients from food without distressing symptoms. So symptoms are really important. They are our body's way of letting us know that something is wrong. And with the many states of disease have their foundations in a dysfunctional digestive system. So if you're having problems, chronic problems with digestion, that can speak to some greater issues that might be going on. So it's a really, really important thing to pay attention to. So let's just quickly go over some of the symptoms of poor digestion. We've got gas and bloating, heartburn, acid reflux, constipation, diarrhea, malabsorption of nutrients, IBS, leaky gut, which we'll talk about more detailed later, which can lead to a bunch of different conditions, and also nausea. So now let's go over the 10 tips to improve digestion. Number 1 is exercise. Increasing exercise can actually improve digestion even if you don't change what you eat.
Yes, because you get good muscle tone, which is, your body supports itself. Also, it's kind of generating energy to keep it going. And also that's the peristaltic movement in the intestines. And that kind of, when you're moving around, it helps that whole process of digestion.
Absolutely. It's actually your muscles in your digestive system are really important. So you want to keep those toned. And that'll also help with gas and bloating. Number 2, don't overeat. This really taxes our digestive system. It takes a lot of energy. It really slows things down. And so you can get things backed up. And if the food doesn't break down all the way, it can cause fermentation and bloating and all of these things. So, a good rule of thumb, I love this saying, is hari hachibu. It's a Japanese term meaning eat until you're 80% full. And it was originated in the city of Okinawa, where people use this advice as a way to control their eating habits. Interestingly, they have one of the lowest rates of illness from heart disease, cancer, and stroke, and a fairly long life expectancy.
Yes. And part of that I've talked about before is the whole concept of intermittent fasting. And when you think about it, You look at some of the average person, especially the people that might be out there having digestive issues. You get up in the morning, maybe you eat your breakfast at 7 o'clock, and then you'll do a lunch at some time, 1 or 2, whatever it is, and then you'll come home. People come home and eat a dinner, maybe late 6, 7, 8 o'clock, and then later in the evening they're watching television, and maybe they have that bowl of ice cream or some other snack. Well, if you think about it, your body, your digestive system's been working, it could be working 16, 18-hour days. Now, if you physically had to go work an 18-hour day, you'd be exhausted. Well, it's the same thing with your digestive system. And so that's why when you do intermittent fasting, it's, basically for different ages, it's like if you're in your 30s or 40s, you have an 8-hour window. You just eat during an 8-hour window, eat healthy food during that 8-hour window. Or as you get older, up into the 50s and 60s, it goes to a 4 to 6 hour thing. And then when you're up in your 70s or 80s, it often comes down to just one meal a day.
Yeah, and you also don't want to eat late at night, especially if you have heartburn. Just laying down after you have a full stomach can really make that worse. Number 3, I love this one, is give thanks. How often do we forget to do that?
Yes.
A lot. So when you sit down at your food and you give thanks for your meal, you're actually kind of initiating the digestive process, which happens in the cephalic phase of digestion, which starts in the mind. Digestion, you may think it starts in the mouth and the stomach. It starts in the mind. So you start thinking about food. It gets the digestive juices flowing. It actually secretes saliva in your mouth, which contains amylase, which is an enzyme that starts the breaking down of carbohydrates right when it hits your mouth. And I believe that brings and then avoid. You want to focus on your food while you're eating it, right?
Yes. And then another thing is avoid, watching screens. Like it's first is rude to be sitting at the table, having screens or television or something else. Really, if you're going to be eating a meal, you should be focusing on eating the meal. Especially if you're a family, everybody is there eating the meal. They're not watching the television. They're not on their phones. Everybody's kind of like having a family moment. So that's really important too, because.
Yeah, and if you're focused on eating your food, you're going to notice better when you're actually full. And otherwise, if you're mindlessly watching something, you might just keep going. And next thing you know, you're like, oh, what did I do? Which brings us to number 4, which is really important, and this has to do with slowing down and chewing your food. It is so important to chew your food because, like I said, the amylase, the enzymes start in your mouth, and that really does help the breakdown of the food. It makes the digestion just work so much more smoothly, especially also when it comes to getting the most out of your food and your nutrients. If you're chewing on vegetables and fruits and whole grains and legumes, they have fiber on the outside a lot of times, and so you have to really chew that down and break it down to get to the inside, the insoluble fiber, and where the nutrients are.
Oh, yeah. So. Yeah, the smaller the food particles you take into your digestive system. First, you're getting the amylase and other digestive enzymes are, in your mouth, but you break it down into small pieces, and it means down lower, your digestive system can work on it a whole lot more efficiently when it's broken down. Yeah, you're going to get a lot more nutrients from your food that way. Mm-hmm. And it's a good mindfulness practice, right? Yes. So let's see. The next one is reduce or eliminate processed foods. The thing about processed foods, and I'll let you say something in a second, is just that, you're not getting a lot of nutrients from processed foods. They're refined. And so what happens is it actually takes your body nutrients to digest and metabolize food. It takes your body energy to do this. So you're actually going to be in a deficit of nutrients if you're eating these foods. So your body has to kind of it's like robbing your body of nutrients to digest this nutrient vacuum of food. Yeah, and then there's a lot of things in processed foods that really aren't food. There are these, additives and these strange chemicals. I mean, when you read the label, go down to the bottom of the label, and basically a rule of thumb, if you can't pronounce the name, you shouldn't be eating it. And your body was probably not designed to eat it. Yes, exactly. So we can talk about refined oils and all of these food. And, gluten. Why do you think there's so many people with gluten and sensitivities today?
Wheat has been modified to contain higher levels of gluten because that helped the storage life and everything else. But we're not designed to digest that. So there's a lot of crazy foods, frankenfoods like that we're just stay away from them as much as possible. Like if you're at the grocery store, stay on the perimeter of the grocery store if you can, Yeah,
and we've had several shows where we talked about the proper foods to eat and what to avoid. So you could probably check that out on our channel if you want more specifics.
Number 6 is eat more fiber. Oh, I cannot stress this enough, especially you low carb people, keto people, really be careful because some of the foods that are really, really high in fibers, like whole grains and legumes, those are cut out of the diet completely. And so you're missing out on all those good B vitamins and that good fiber. But fiber is important for digestion. It is so key. If you're having constipation, you definitely want to focus on introducing more fiber. A lot of times the fiber is found in the skin of the vegetable or the fruit.
And that's also where a lot of the best nutrients of a fruit are, is in the skin. So if you can do that too. And also fiber dilutes the effects of toxic compounds, kind of absorbs it up. And and the toxic compounds produced by bad bacteria kind of also pulls those up. So, and then also it helps feed good bacteria. In fact, one of the key health of is when certain fibers are broken down, they produce hydrogen gas. The bacteria produce hydrogen gas, and then your body uses that hydrogen gas as an antioxidant and a various signaling molecule. And that's one of the best reasons for fiber is because you're getting hydrogen gas out of that diet.
Yeah, and actually, it speeds up the transit time in the colon. So if you do have constipation, that usually means it's slow. It's moving too slowly. And so over time, as it just sits there, the water kind of gets reabsorbed back into the body. So it's important to have enough fiber. And then also, I want to give you guys an example of how this works, because if you look at refined grains versus whole grains, I just want to give you an example. What they do when they refine the grain is they remove the outer husk, which has the bran, which has all the fiber, the B vitamins, and the minerals that you want. They remove that part. Then they also remove the germ. And that is the nutrient-packed core with B vitamins, vitamin E, phytochemicals, and healthy fats. So all you're left with is this endosperm, which is basically just starchy carbohydrates. And so what happens when you eat these refined grains, it gives you a spike in your blood sugar. It just basically converts to sugar so quickly. And also, let's see. Oh, the reason why they do this is because they don't want the grains to go rancid.
Oh, yes, because
right?
that's, like white rice will last almost forever, but it's pretty much empty carbs. Yeah. And so so it's just something that's developed. And also, there's different types of fibers too.
Yeah, and not only will this won't help add fiber to your diet, obviously, if you're eating the white rice. But not only that, but it can tend to plug you up as well, like really slow things down. So what was the question? I'm sorry.
The different types of fiber, because not all fiber is the same.
Oh, yeah. There's insoluble fiber. There's soluble fiber. The insoluble fiber is usually the fiber on the outside of a whole grain or like the husk of a bean or something like that. And then the insoluble fiber for brown rice, I know, is on the inside. So that's another reason why you really got to chew your food to get to that insoluble fiber. But yeah, the soluble fiber absorbs toxins and unneeded cholesterol. So if you have high cholesterol, that's why they tell you to eat oatmeal, right? Because you're going to get that fiber from that. And then the insoluble fiber hastens an elimination. So it's just like an intestinal broom. So that's also an important piece. And that insoluble fiber also feeds the good bacteria. Yes.
That's the key. They're actually a whole bunch of bacteria that we need in our stomach that are symbiotic with us, and they're designed specifically to do that. And that's where you get a lot of nutrients and minerals that for your body is from those bacteria. So it's really important to have fiber.
But yeah, don't peel your potatoes if you can help it, or your carrots, because you know that if you keep the skins on, you'll get the insoluble fiber on the inside, you'll get the non-soluble fiber, or the soluble fiber on the outside. So for a good source of fiber is legumes, whole grains, and then as for vegetables, the darker the color of the vegetables, the higher the fiber content, such as carrots, beets, broccoli, collards, chard. And then another really good one is artichokes.
Yes, and they're
A lot
tasty
of fiber.
too.
I know.
But don't take too much butter with them.
All right. So number 7, this is something that a lot of people don't realize that they might have, and that is low stomach acid.
Yes, and that's part of that is, first off, don't overconsume liquids with meals.
Right.
So, don't be drinking a lot of water or anything else right before a meal. That's important.
Yeah.
And also, what happens is because if your body can't digest or your stomach can't digest it, then you can get the heartburn. There's too much in there. It's bubbling around. It makes everything work harder because you kind of diluted out your stomach acid.
Well, let's talk about heartburn for a second, because traditionally when you suffer heartburn, you go to your doctor, they say, here, take some antacids, right? That actually lowers your stomach acid, which is the opposite thing that you want to do.
Yes, because it's low stomach acid, which causes heartburn. It sounds counterintuitive.
It does.
But the reason it is because it's not getting the job done, and that's causing problems in there. Like it's hanging out, the food's hanging out too long because the stomach's trying, but it can't really get the job done. And so that's the problem. Now, there's a couple things you can do to help you digest that. And that's like if you you can take a little bit of water before you start eating, except you can have like lemon juice dissolved in it. That's a little bit acidic, helps the digestive enzymes. And also you can have apple cider vinegar, organic apple cider vinegar.
Yes, unfiltered, unpasteurized.
Yes, but yes, and just take the taste in water.
Yeah, and traditionally, I know in Japan they have pickles with a meal, and that also will increase your stomach acid. So, but the worst thing you can do is to take an antacid. Don't do it because it'll actually lower your stomach acid, which will cause malabsorption because you're not going to be able to break down the food and get the nutrients out of the food. So, anything you can do to avoid doing that. Let's see. And then I think we got covered. Oh, one thing real quick, you can do a test because it's hard to know if you have low stomach acid. A sign is that you eat a meal and you're belching. That can be a sign of low stomach acid. But you can actually do a simple test at home that's free. Well, it costs maybe $1 for the baking soda, but it's a baking soda stomach acid test. And it's really easy. Just first thing in the morning before you've eaten or drank anything, mix a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and 4 ounces of cold water. Then you drink that solution, set a timer, and see how long it takes you to burp. If you have not burped within 5 minutes, stop timing. That means you probably have low stomach acid. Basically, that's the test right there. If you do have low stomach acid, again, you can help that out with, what Ken mentioned, the apple cider vinegar and the lemon juice. You can actually do the apple cider vinegar and water first thing in the morning, which can help as well. But low stomach acid, the reason why it's a problem is that the stomach acid is what actually kills the pathogenic microorganisms and parasites and things that might end up in your food. It's part of the immune system in a way, and that it's like one of the first lines of defense because it's going to kill anything that comes in. But if you have low stomach acid, those things are just going to get past that. And then, we already talked about So here's some symptoms of low stomach acid: heartburn or indigestion, bloating, cramping, and or gas, constipation and diarrhea, food sensitivities and or allergies, dry skin or hair and or brittle nails, hair loss in women, chronic fatigue, autoimmunity, and gut issues like IBS. So this is definitely a good place to start if you have any of those symptoms. Number 8 is drink water.
Yes, drinking water is very important. Now, not a bunch of water right before a meal, but a little bit of water after the meal, and generally keeping yourself hydrated during the day. That's really important. So it's, as you've probably always heard people saying, drink more water.
8-ounce glasses a day if you can do it.
If you can do it, yeah. And because also it helps flush out the toxins in your body because your blood builds up toxins and they need to be filtered out. But if there's not enough water, you can't, your kidneys can't do that job. And so some of it, like you can't, also if you don't have enough water in your stomach in your intestines when you're digesting things, it just can't get the digestion done. So that's because it's got to be able to move. The food's got to be mixed up.
Well,
and
no,
moved
you don't
around.
want to drink a lot of water while you're eating. I think what you mean is it just supports the
Yes.
digestion in other ways. But really, you want to drink throughout the day. And if you're having constipation, a lot of times it's because of you're dehydrated, you don't have enough water. So that's a good place to start. But something interesting to know is that, people that, speaking of constipation, take laxatives. Well, they may have constipation because they're dehydrated, right? So they're already dehydrated. Then they're taking a laxative. And what the laxative does is it pulls water from other areas of the body, including your organs, to get your to get things moving again. And then people get addicted because if you stop taking that, then you're not able to do anything. So there's so we definitely recommend not taking laxatives.
Another thing is it's really important, especially if you're older. Sometimes 60 to 70% of the people that are like in their 70s and 80s are chronically dehydrated. So you really need to make a schedule where you're going to make sure that even if you don't want to, you need to say, hey, I need to have like 3 glasses, 16-ounce glasses of water a day or whatever it is for you. And then you just need to make sure that you do those every day, whether you like it or not. At a certain time, like at 2 o'clock, right, you have a glass of water and just make that a habit, especially if you're older, so that you don't end up with chronic dehydration, which can lead to a host of problems.
Well, and another way we get our water is from fruits and vegetables, and they also have fiber, which help us retain the water. So if you're bulking up, it's able to bulk up the stool, but it also is able to hold on to the water a little bit more, so things move more smoothly. So water is just so important. And lack of water in the digestive system can result in ulcers, indigestion, heartburn, fatigue, brain fog, memory loss, and constipation. So the next one is add in probiotics.
Yes, that's so important.
It is, because probiotics strengthen the immunity and then also reduce chronic inflammation, and they can actually help remedy leaky gut.
Yes, and that's because there's we'll talk a little bit more about that and how C60 can help, but there's a whole community down there in your gut. And especially, let's say you've taken a dose of antibiotics, or if you eat, let's say, a food like full of glyphosate, like corn,
GMO foods.
Yeah, GMO foods. Those glyphosates can damage the gut bacteria. In fact, and that's another problem with eating those nasty processed foods, is the toxins in them, and they just poison kind of your good bacteria and help promote the bad stuff, and yeast too. So it's really important to get probiotics, and just in our everyday lifestyle in the modern world, we're going to be running into those things. You got chlorinated water. You're just going to, you go eat out. You don't know what's in that food always. So it's really good to go down to your local store and health store and get probiotics. Now there's different types of probiotics.
Right. You get a soil-based probiotic. We recommend that because it'll actually make it past the stomach acid. It'll make it to where it needs to go in the lower intestine and things like that. But you can also, I really recommend, besides just taking a probiotic every day, if you have taken antibiotics, double up on those probiotics. And then also you also want to eat some foods that are a good source for probiotics, like kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir, yogurts, and things like that, because you're going to get a different type of culture.
Don't forget pickles.
Oh yeah,
pickles are good. And one of the things they've had these guys go out and they search all over the world for the little cultures that live the longest, and in every case, all the cultures in which the people live the longest ate a fermented food every day.
Absolutely.
So that is super important to have fermented food. And there's so many types, like you said. You got yogurts, you got the kefir, you got pickles. I love pickles. And sauerkraut and all those different fermented foods. Just find one that you like and eat it every day. It's really important for good health, and science backs that up 100%.
Apple cider vinegar, if it's not filtered, if it's organic, good unpasteurized apple cider vinegar also is a good source.
Yes.
Kombucha is a great source. So you should really be eating with every meal a little bit of fermented food.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So the next one is, and Yeah, add in enzymes. So enzymes, all the colorful fruits and vegetables, a lot of them have enzymes, of course. And papaya is a really good source. Pineapple is a really good source. And actually, the fermented foods we just mentioned, they also have enzymes. They're live, raw, or sprouted foods. You can also supplement. If you're really having a problem with your digestion, you can supplement with enzymes. Some people have to. People maybe with pancreatitis or, their pancreas isn't quite functioning and can't make the enzymes your body needs, then you'll need to supplement them.
Yeah, and there's various ones, especially if you've had like a gallbladder removed. There's digestive enzymes you should be taking with every meal. That takes care of the fats that the bile used to be provided by the gallbladder. And as you get older, if you're like in your 60s, 70s, or 80s, just part of the process of aging, you produce less enzymes. And so you can go to your health food store, and there are a wide variety of enzymes that can help you. And like a lot of people have lactic acid intolerance. And so you should always, if you have lactic acid intolerance, you should probably have an enzyme with lactose in it. So if let's say you do eat a dairy product.
Lactate, I think, is it?
Yeah.
Lactase. Lactase is the enzyme.
And then you can take that, and there's various other things for people that are like gluten intolerant.
Sure.
Sometimes there's a food that has like a little bit of wheat in it, like a soup or something. You don't know that. So if you have those problems, you can take that enzyme, which breaks down the gluten, so that your digestive system is much better. So it's really good, important to kind of check out the enzyme supplements, especially if you're older.
Absolutely. So yeah, that was our 10 tips. But now we're going to get into how C60 can help with digestion and nutrient absorption. And first I want to start with just how C60 helps the overall energy. It can increase the efficiency of the mitochondria. And while the digestive system takes a lot of energy to break down foods.
Yes, and that's one of the key things the C60 sort of gets rid of the oxidative radicals, but it doesn't, especially that with the mitochondria. And once your mitochondria are working fine, you're getting your ATP. That's the energy molecule cell. And that allows you to get, it does everything. Everything you need to do, that the cell needs to do anywhere, is brought to you by ATP.
And C60 also helps strengthen the gut lining, right? Which is really important as far as absorbing nutrients. You need to have a strong gut lining. And then also, the stomach has all this acid in it. So it has to regenerate the stomach lining every few days. And if C60 gets in there, it's increasing the production of these gut cells and can help the turnover rate. Because as we age, our stem cell production goes down, and you need stem cells to make gut cells.
Yeah, that's one of the side effects that people found of C60, especially if they're doing stem cell treatments. They take C60 and they go in and they have like huge numbers of stem cells. There's a whole process of why that happens that we discussed in past shows, and it would take another show to go through it. But that's one of the things. So you're going to have an adequate amount of stem cells to turn for your gut or your stomach lining to turn over every day, and that's really important. And the other thing, C60 also gets and helps the endoplasmic reticulum. That's where the proteins are made. And actually, what holds a gut together is there's little proteins that the epithelium in the cells, the lining, epithelial cells in the gut make, and that proteins allow them to stick together. And so that's what basically leaky gut's caused by, either inflammation or.
So the tight gap junctions stay tight. Yeah. If you have leaky gut, the gut is inflamed. They start to separate, and then larger particles or food are allowed to escape the gut lining, and the innate immune system kicks in and sees it as a foreign object because it's not broken down in a form that the cell can use, so they flag it. And that's why we get these allergies to gluten and things like that. Gluten is a real big culprit for leaky gut syndrome, and so is dairy.
Yes, those, especially if you don't have the enzymes to digest those sort of things, which we really don't have. Nobody really has the best enzymes to go after gluten in any case.
Right.
It's just a food that's really not good for us.
Leaky gut can cause a whole list of things that, real serious conditions, like autoimmune conditions are thought to be caused by leaky gut syndrome. What else? So we're going to talk about, I'm going to show that after we go through this. Okay.
Okay.
It's a little summary.
Okay, yeah. So Well, let's talk about some of the other things that.
How about the gut microbiome?
That's one. That's
C60
one I like to talk
strengthens
about.
the gut microbiome.
Yeah, because one of the things, if I'm going a little science here, so hold on.
Good, here we go.
In our cells, we have eukaryotic cells, and in the mitochondria are actually symbiotic. They were once bacteria, and now they're symbiotic organelles. They have their own DNA.
Right.
And they're aerobic bacteria. They came from aerobic bacteria. And so there's two bacteria types.
Are you talking about the mitochondria used to be?
Yeah, mitochondria used to be bacteria. It's the whole thing how the eukaryotic cell got to be. They were absorbed in. But they have the same thing. The good bacteria, which is also aerobic bacteria in our stomachs, can benefit from C62 because they're also oxygen burners and they produce a lot of oxidative radicals. And so they can, C60 strengthens our good bacteria, but it doesn't strengthen the bad bacteria, the anaerobic ones, the ones that live off fermentation and yeast too, then the things that usually cause problems. So C60 strengthens the good ones, and the good ones have various mechanisms. They produce various enzymes and toxins that kind of wipe out the bad bacteria. And part of that's also with the symbiotic relationship in our gut, because we're actually designed to have bacteria. There's more bacteria cells in our bodies, like there are 10 trillion of them. There's like 10 times as many bacteria cells in our body as there are human cells. So what are we? We're a symbiotic organism, and we need those bacteria to keep us healthy. And so what happens when you have proper epithelia cells in your gut lining are healthy, they secrete certain substances which feed good bacteria. And of course, in return, the good bacteria break down the food in the gut, and they also secrete various important substances like serotonin.
Yeah, hormones that your body needs to signal and communicate.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of those. I think we have another show on that too.
All about that.
And so when you got a healthy gut lining, then you got a healthy layer of good bacteria on it that are working symbiotically. And then, of course, that protects you. You got double layer there now to protect you against bad bacteria or certain toxins that get into your system, which are inevitably going to happen. So, a healthy gut is the key to good health.
It's true. The microbiome is so, so important, and they are our friends. So anything we can do to just support them.
Yes.
C60 can really, really help, speed up the energy, and then also help since the good bacteria actually produces oxygen, the bad bacteria can't survive in oxygen. It's anaerobic, right?
Yes.
So it has to be fermenting.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons that you want to make sure that you got the good bacteria. Another thing, but C60 lifts the oxidative burden the cells are under so that they can operate the way they're supposed to, but it's not going to do everything all of itself. If you talk to like any veterinarian, they ask about what's the key to animal health, and the vet will say diet. So you've got to do your part by eating healthy, getting your exercise, drinking, healthy, pure water. That's one thing I didn't mention. Yeah, you need to drink pure, healthy water. A lot of water is really bad, especially in some of the cities in the Midwest and the East Coast, because you're taking that water out of the rivers, and there's all kinds of drugs and antibiotics and other things that can't be broken down in the system. The sewage system just dumps into the river and then they pull out downstream. So it'd really be important to have filtered water or other ways of purified water, especially if you're living in one of those cities near a river where they get the waters. That's so really healthy, clean water is key.
Right. So let's talk about organ health, because, when you think of the digestive system, a lot of people just think of the stomach and the colon and the intestines, right? But it's also the pancreas, the liver, these other organs, the kidneys that are also part of that system, and the gallbladder. So can you talk about how C60 can actually help support these various organs? Well,
C60 does, of course, gets in there, so it gets the mitochondria going. So you got your ATP. So now the cell can do its thing. Also, it protects the endoplasmic reticulum. So that's where the proteins are made. So now your proteins, your neurotransmitters, or whatever it is. And I've talked before how C60 also, by stimulating the mitochondria, mitochondria make pregnenolone, which is the precursor molecule for pretty much all the hormones. So now your hormones are up and doing it. And then one thing I want to get back to is the intermittent fasting about these organs. You got a pancreas there, your liver, your small intestine, your large intestine. All of these need to work together, and they need rest. So that's why intermittent fasting, a lot of times people can take intermittent fasting, their digestive issues go away, because you can't be working your pancreas 18 hours a day. You can't be doing that for your stomach or your liver or all those things. They need time to rest. And so you really need to limit food intake, especially as you get older. That's one of the keys to healthy people. Another one of the habits of healthy older people is they usually only have like one meal a day. And that's and then it gives the time their digestive system can work, and then it has time to rest, ready itself for next day. So a lot of people with pancreatitis and these other sorts of diseases, other diseases of the liver, you're going to find out that there are people usually that they just eat all day long.
Also, if you think about these organs, like the liver, for instance, they are what is responsible for cleaning the blood. And unfortunately, nowadays, they're being burdened with a much bigger toxic overload than it used to be. So you want to think about supporting your liver any way you can. C60 will really help, but also doing a liver cleanse can really help. C60 can help support the body's own natural ability to detox. But if you can do a liver cleanse, maybe every spring is a really good time to do it. Once a year, that can really, really help if you are having digestive issues, constipation, things like that. A lot of times it can be a sign that the liver is really just overloaded. If you have to take, synthetic hormones or pharmaceuticals for any reason, that can cause the liver to be taxed and burdened, or antibiotics and things like that can really, and then also just our general environment, unfortunately, can really tax the liver as well.
Yeah, but it's also a gallbladder flush is another good thing. I mean, there's basically, you need to do maintenance on your body the same way you need maintenance on your car.
Especially these days.
Yeah, so there's the liver cleansing, gallbladder flush, and there's various other detox things that we should be doing every year at certain times just to help with general health.
I know that we're going to take questions here in just a second, so I hope you guys have put your questions in the comments. But real quick, can you talk about how C60 helps the body detox naturally? We have a show all about this, by the way, so I'll link to that.
Yeah. Well, first off, toxins, let's say, especially if you go intermittent fasting or you're doing other nutritional things, a lot of toxins that the body can't handle toxins, a lot of times it dumps it in the fat cells. And they're just stuck there. So when you start losing weight or anything else, intermittent fasting, you're going to have these toxins come out. And toxins damage the body. That it isn't the toxin that's damaging the body. Usually when the toxin breaks down, it produces oxidative radicals. And it's those oxidative radicals that do the damage. So if you've got C60 will neutralize those oxidative radicals before they can do the damage in your body. And that's one of the keys how C60 can do it. So if you're dieting or fasting or doing something else, C60 is really important to make sure you don't get like a toxic overload burden. And of course, you should always be drinking enough water because if you do have toxins in you, you need water so that your kidneys can flush them out, because that's another way. Or other ways that are really important is sweating. So if you can do like a sauna, especially a dry sauna, you can sweat out a lot of toxins that way. And of course, eating the fibers, which can grab those toxins in your digestive system and take them on through.
Yeah, absolutely. And so C60 does neutralize a lot of toxins, including it makes heavy metals inactive, right?
Yes, because that's like if you got, let's say they found that in scientific tests that like if you have mercury hydroxide or other hydroxide forms of metal, that it'll turn it to an oxide. C60 catalytically converts it to an oxide so that you don't, so it doesn't go on and becomes insoluble, and the body can actually grab it and get it out of you. And that's like aluminum hydroxide. They got those in certain things they give you. C60 can help neutralize the aluminum to aluminum oxides. The body has a lot of ways of grabbing aluminum oxide, get it out of your body, because there's just way too much aluminum. That's another thing. Don't ever use aluminum cooking materials. That's a really, or even drinking out of aluminum cans or cups.
Or Teflon, because of the EDCs, right?
Yes, and so that's another thing. We're just thinking these as we come along on things that
we could go all day long.
Yes, we have, and we done whole shows on that.
But the point is, you should be taking C60 every day because of the onslaught of toxins that we are exposed to in our environment with our pharmaceutical drugs, everything else. So, and if you are trying to lose weight and you're rapidly losing weight, definitely take a little extra, because it can even release more toxins, since toxins are sequestered in fat.
Yes, they are.
I think we're ready to take some questions.
I think we are ready to take some questions.
Okay, we've got some good ones. Jill says, Are there any testimonials on C60 helping SIBO, which is small intestinal bacteria overgrowth? Yes, we could definitely talk about that, because SIBO it's basically food fermenting, right?
Yes.
In the gut. So
yeah, and it's the wrong type of bacteria.
Right.
There's good bacteria and there's bad bacteria. One of the things is if C60 strengthens all the gut epithelial lining of your gut, and once the epithelia is strong, at first it's sealed, so you're not getting a leaky gut thing. But they also secrete all kinds of enzymes and other digestive juices that go into the intestine. And so if you have that, the bacteria can't hold on to the epithelia cells because they can secrete mucuses and other things that kick them off. And so now your small intestines, you're not getting bacterial overgrowth because when you got a healthy intestine, bad bacteria can't grow there.
Now, as far as reports from people specifically with SIBO, we don't have any specifically. We do have reports of people having improved digestion and getting over various digestive issues, but SIBO we haven't seen anything about SIBO. So try it and let us know what you think.
Yes, because people that's one of the things, side effects of C60, you get a way better digestion. And a lot of times people don't know why they have bad digestion. But they do notice when it gets better.
Well, not only that, MCT coconut oil is a really good one to take if you have constipation and you want to get things moving again. You can take this first thing in the morning and that'll get you going. Let's see. We have another question from Lindsay. I usually do and like intermittent fasting, but the C60 product instructions say to take it in the morning with food for a better absorption of the product. What do you suggest?
Actually, what I do is I take, one of the first things I take when I end my intermittent fasting. I actually start eating about noon or 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, depending on what the day is. And I just take C60 is kind of how it breaks the fast, because C60 is dissolved in oil. And obviously, if you're fasting, you can't be taking oil. So that's just the first thing I do to break a fast. And sometimes at the end of the day, if it's not too late, I'll take a little C60 because that kind of helps balance things out. But yeah, you just take it when you break your fast. That's all.
That's interesting. Yeah, and since you're intermittent fasting, it just means you're fasting for shorter amounts of time. If you're doing periodic fasting, let's say for a day or two, how would you? I mean, it'd be nice to have that C60. Maybe you dose up before you start.
Yes. Yeah,
so that you've got that C60 there to help with the detox.
Yeah, that's what I've actually done. I'll take a bunch right before I start eating for a day or two, and then take it right after I start going back. Well, usually, I start with like fruit juices and stuff, but a little C60 also helps at that time. And another thing on the MCT oil is it turns into the short-chain triglycerides. Your liver can turn them into ketones, which your body can use for instant energy source. And so if you got glucose processing issues, it's really good for you because now your cells have have another energy source besides glucose they can run off of.
And it's easier to digest, right? Because I don't think the liver has to use it.
No, the liver, it doesn't turn to fat.
Okay.
It's all these turned into ketones.
That's interesting.
Which then...
So it's like instant digestion.
Yes, exactly. A lot of athletes use it because it gives you like an instant shot of energy.
Let's see. We have another question. Ken, I have heard you mention that C60 helps with leaky gut syndrome. What about irritable bowel syndrome? Has there been any anecdotal evidence?
Oh, yes. We have many customers who had irritable bowel syndrome. Sometimes other people called it leaky gut syndrome, and they've taken C60 and their health has really, really improved their digestion. They're not in pain all the time. They can actually eat a lot more different types of foods. Of course, I also always push in intermittent fasting for those people too, just so that their gut has a chance to heal. But they've definitely, we've had so many anecdotal reports of people with those problems. I mean, it's like they're really, really happy because it's a pretty bad problem. And when it goes down and becomes a lot less or goes away, they notice and they're happy.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And they tell us.
Jaga Wunster says, if non-soluble fiber is a broom, C60 must be a squeegee. That's hilarious. Thank you for that, Jaga Wunster. Comment for Sierra. Besides limiting liquid consumption during meals to avoid diluting stomach acid, especially don't consume cold liquids. This is true. Very true. Stomach acid doesn't do much digesting, but it activates your digestive enzyme. It's true. And if you have a low stomach acid, it won't signal to the pancreas to release these enzymes. So that's a really, really important factor. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, as much as I love a good icy cold drink, I try to avoid them these days. Let's see. Jill says, is suffering from small intestinal bacteria overgrowth? Oh, I'm sorry. Jill is suffering from SIBO. She's on a low-carb diet and on a herbal protocol for SIBO, taking L-reuteri to keep hydrogen from overgrowing as methane is lowered. Digestive enzymes too, but I don't do well with them. No veggies for me, too much anti-nutrients in them and makes my bloating worse. Would C60 help my gut health SIBO issue? Is there a coupon code?
Yes.
Yes, there's a coupon code.
Yes, the C60 Show for 15% off.
It's all one word.
Yes.
You know, I'm not an expert in SIBO, so I couldn't tell you. I would ask your functional nutritionist. I'd say ask your doctor, but they don't usually look at this stuff.
Yeah, most doctors have like 4 hours of nutrition in medical school. It's kind of sad.
I have to tell a little story. I went to my endocrinologist, and he would not do this test or this test or this test for me that I wanted, and I asked him why, and he said, well, because even if the test says, yes, you're high estrogen, or yes, you're this or that, there's nothing we can do about it. I'm like, there's nothing you can do about it. There's plenty I can do about it with, natural healing and diet and all of these other things that take longer, maybe take more time, but they actually work. So I would just say it sounds like you're already on the path to digging into this yourself, and best of luck to you. I know C60 will really help in your body's ability to be able to heal itself. The gut lining is so important, and try it out and you let us know, because you sound like you're very informed already, and we'd love to hear about your experience with it, and definitely use the coupon code.
Yes, and also probiotics can often help greatly in these cases. That are examples that I've read of, because what you want is a lot of times when you get this bacterial overgrowth, it's because it's bad bacteria.
Yeah.
You need the good bacteria, a good gut biota, and actually the good bacteria get rid of the bad bacteria. And so the bacteria that work symbiotically with your body, that's what you need. And a lot of the things that people get, you catch this bad bacteria or whatever, or you've been through a roar of antibiotics and it wiped out a lot of the good bacteria. So you need to replace the whole kind of like ecosystem inside your body so that you can be healthy.
If you want to do a search for Dr. Hyman, he is a functional medicine doctor, and he does a lot of shows about Candida and SIBO and all of these things, and they talk about natural ways to overcome these things. So I would definitely go check that out, and let us know what you find out. Sandy says, psyllium husk powder is great if you need extra fiber. True.
Yes. Drinking
plenty of water when taking it. Yes.
Yes.
You can add it to smoothies too. And another one I'm going to mention is chia seeds. The fiber content of chia seeds is actually amazing. I forget what exactly it was. I think it was like 10 grams of fiber for every tablespoon. I am probably wrong, so Google it. But the point is, it has a lot of fiber, and the chia seeds bulk up everything because it absorbs the water. But yeah, you need to I usually will soak my chia seeds in water or juice or something. My kids love chia seed pudding, actually, so that was a win. And it's high in omega-3s as well. So try chia seeds. Flax seeds are another really, really good one.
Yes.
What else? Question for Ken. Jill says, will C60 help with copper toxicity?
Well, I think probably would help. Copper, of course, is a necessary nutrient, but then too much of it. And of course, problems that people have, where do you get your copper? Well, if you got copper pipes. And some people have enzyme deficiencies in processing copper, and that's what causes the copper toxicity. One of the ways C60 can help is C60, of course, stimulates the mitochondria. The mitochondria make pregnenolone, and then the pregnenolone is turned into various hormones and other chemicals. So and it also makes the endoplasmic reticulum, which makes the proteins and other enzymes. It can definitely, it'll take you up to the maximum production that your body can do for these things to help clean out the copper. And of course, what C60 does with a lot of metals, it'll get rid of hydroxides. It turns hydroxides to oxides, and then your body can deal with an oxide because it's generally an insoluble form. And when in insoluble form, the body can grab onto it, and it has ways of dumping it out. Because, there's been toxic metals in our environment since time began, and the body has processes that can take those metals out. It's actually pretty efficient processes. The only problem in our modern industrial society is just flooded with metals. I mean, look around us. And that can overwhelm the body. So that's one of the ways it can do it.
Yeah, I mean, they're in our skincare products and our makeup, and
that's what we
putting
actually
them on our skin.
We've done shows about that.
Yeah, we have.
You really got to go, and what was that website?
The Detox Show is, there's an app you can get on your phone. It's called Think Dirty. And you would be amazed at, you think you're buying products from Whole Foods or natural grocers and they're all natural. Well, nope. Actually, they're high on the toxic list, some of them. So it is definitely worth checking out your products. There's definitely some brands that I love that are very clean. So just check out the Think Dirty app.
Yes.
Put that on your phone. You can scan the barcode of anything and it'll usually pop up.
Yeah, that's an excellent thing, because you don't know if you're having a toxicity issue with copper, it might be, it could be in your makeup. It could be in your eyeliner or something, and you just don't know it. And so where you're getting the source, a lot of times they had that whole problem with lead in lipstick. Mm-hmm. Because lead is used to kind of brightens up colors, and so they were putting, in a lot of lipstick, you were getting major lead poisoning from lipstick. So you got to be careful. It's really important. Yeah, whatever you put on your skin ends up in your bloodstream in a short matter of time. Of course, if you're wearing lipstick, you're going to be eating lipstick as well. Let's see. Sandy says, so C60 will make mercury from fillings inactive and take it out of the body. Yes, it'll turn it from a hydroxide form. Well, it won't mobilize it though. I mean, it's not going to leach it out of your teeth. No, it's not going to take it out of teeth. What it is you've got inorganic mercury is in your body because it's coming out of your teeth. It's probably in a hydroxide form. It's dissolved by an acid. It's a metal. Metals get dissolved by acids, and so C60X in a catalytic state appears to turn it into an oxide. And then as an oxide, it can be pulled out of your body. Of course, chelation, various chelating agents. If you've got mercury in your mouth, you need to also take chelating agents. Then you can go down to your local health food store and get those. And of course, you might want to remove it before you do that. Because that chelating or chelating will actually draw it out. Yeah, exactly. So, but one of the things is we really would love you to have the mercury taken out of your mouth, but make sure you go to a dentist that is a professional at removing mercury fillings, because when you remove a mercury filling, it can poison you really badly, especially if you have too many of them, and also can poison the dentist. And so they have a whole protocol. If you're going to get your mercury fillings out, go to one of those guys who specializes in it, and that means you'll limit your mercury exposure, and they have limits on their mercury exposure but I would definitely get the mercury out of your mouth if you can. And if you're going to do that, take some extra take C60. Huge amounts of C60 before and after, because that can really help. And because a lot of the mercury creates oxidative radicals, and then they cause damage. But also, if mercury gets in various, because it's got a +2 charge a lot of times, and that can mess up things. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for your questions today. That's all that we got so far. So we'll be in the comments after the show. So if you have other questions or you're watching the replay, let us know. We'll answer those the best we can. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed our show. If you did like this show and you want more shows like this one, definitely give it a big thumbs up, like it, and share it with your friends. And if you'd like to try C60 for yourself, visit our website, c60purplepower.com. Yes. And remember to use the coupon code, the C60 Show. That's one word, for 15% off. And if you're watching us on YouTube today, make sure you subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to receive notifications every time we upload something new. Well, thank you, everyone, for your questions, and we're looking forward to seeing you again on our next show. See you next time.